Hi, and welcome to the White Hat versus Black Hat SEO show. My name is Josh of the 80s haircut and shirt Bashinsky. Uh, if you've never watched the White Hat versus Black Hat SEO show, we are the finest SEO show on the interwebs. Today, I am very pleased to be joined by one of our Black Hat co-hosts, Hollie Starks. Say hi there, Hollie.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hollie, you're camping, so your connection might come in and out, but we hear you fine right now.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it does good for the next hour, so we'll see. This is kind of a new test. If it doesn't do good, then I'll have to pop back to the house on Wednesdays.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds perfect right now, and we're happy to have you, of course, because for those of you who don't know, Hollie is one of our premier Black Hat co-hosts. She does really high-level Black Hat stuff. The stuff that Google engineers spend a lot of time and money trying to stop is kind of the stuff Hollie's doing. So she knows her Black Hat, and hopefully she'll feel free to jump in and chat as much as she likes. We're also joined today by our Gray Hat co-host, Ted Kubitis. Say hi there, Ted.
Hello.
Ted is also the creator of the Cora software, and he is another major kind of, he likes to call himself Gray Hat, but he's found a very Black Hat exploit recently that we're just going to talk about and not mention what it is and tantalize you because it is way too good to mention on air. But who knows? Maybe at this upcoming conference I'm going to be doing, an online conference, maybe he might say something about it. I'll try and guilt him into saying something about it more as the show goes on. And also we have Joshua with us, another SEO who's asked us questions before. How you doing, Joshua?
How you guys doing? I had myself muted.
Oh, not a problem. Thank you for muting when you're not talking. We're doing quite well. Thanks for joining. Again, if you want to jump in, if you have any comments or things you want to talk about, by all means, let us know. So what were we doing on the show today? Today, we're just going to be answering any questions. Hollie's going to take over in a little bit, and she's going to give us some updates about what she's doing and what she's got going on. She's doing something very exciting that she'll talk about coming up in the show later on. I'm very excited about it. You guys should be too. I'm going to do the normal kind of segments we do on the show, but basically today it's kind of a free-for-all. We're going to answer all your SEO questions. So type them. If you're watching live on YouTube, type them up in the chat, which will be on the top right-hand side. Try to make sure you have some asterisks beside it so I can see them with my Coke bottle glasses. I know the hairdo makes me look like I'm 19, but the eyes say 43. so I can't see nothing unless you make it really obvious that it's an SEO question for us. We'd be happy to answer your SEO questions. And ask us anything today, any White Hat or Black Hat question that you want, or Gray Hat for that matter. So with that, I'm going to start with a segment we always start with on the show, what's new in SEO? And I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to look at what's new going on in the industry today. So going on in the industry, let's take a look here at the Search Engine Roundtable. There has been, as reported by my friend Barry Schwartz, there he is right there. He has mentioned that he's watching an algorithm update on June 8th. I don't find this surprising. What I do find surprising is they had so many updates this year. They've had updates in March, April, May, and June. Different updates of different kinds. Some having more of an effect to Black Hat, some having more of an effect to White Hat, or all of the above. The June 8th update, as far as I can tell, is quality related, because all of my garbage test servers, usually when Google makes any other kind of on-page update or latent semantic indexing update or an indexing and crawling update, my test servers across the board, I have like 20 of them with 50 pages each, they all fluctuate. Like they're going steady, and they all fluctuate like this, and then they go like this. I know Google's done an update because I see that Richter scale, right? June 8th, it was flatline. So the only time I see flatline on my test servers usually is when it's a quality update, and quality is looking at user metrics and where people are clicking. Hollie and I proved that in an experiment months ago. And so when I don't see a fluctuation on my servers, because I know there's no traffic going to my servers, the servers are all trafficless. So I know, okay, well, this has something to do with user metrics or quality, because otherwise my test pages would have went like this and then kept going. So that's what I think the update is. Have you guys noticed anything in the industry? Have you guys noticed any fluctuations from this June 8th update?
I have not checked. I usually wait to see if people in SIA or in the white hat versus black hat group start saying the sky is falling. So short of the experts getting worried, I tend to not really dive into it. So I'd call this, minor because I haven't heard about the sky falling.
Yeah, only one person on the on our private white hat versus black hat Skype group, which you can join, by the way, folks. You can join this group, and Hollie's going to talk about that in a little bit, actually, why you might want to. Other than just listening more to me, but one guy in there did say that he did have a huge drop. So, and I said I think it's quality for the reasons that I already mentioned. Joshua, did you see anything?
Yeah, I didn't see much. It's just nice to see the search engines responding much faster these days.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword for what
It is.
It's nice. So I'm happy. I'm like, sure, great. None of my sites were hit, but I don't know. Some black ass might have a slightly different opinion about it. Well, we'll get to Hollie in a second. Actually, Hollie, did you see anything this on the 8th? Any changes?
The 8th was a Friday, right?
Yeah.
So YouTube generally does their updates on Thursday, but I actually did see the sky was falling on my SERPs on Friday and Saturday because I remember I was out of town and I logged in and I looked at them and I was like, oh, Barf City, I am not happy with this at all today. And it got back to normal then on Sunday. And no, actually, Sunday was still a shit day, but then Monday my rankings returned. So, and I usually don't feel the updates as much as I did this last time, but I definitely did.
That's interesting. So,
and they were on my YouTube videos, like the actual my money sites. I shouldn't say my money sites. My feeder sites. Those were pretty stagnant. They didn't move at all, but I did definitely feel it in YouTube.
Do the feeder sites get a lot of traffic?
No, they don't get very much traffic.
So that again leads some credence to my hypothesis that it was user metric based. It was probably a standard Panda adjustment.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the previous updates in March, April, and May were not Panda adjustments. Ted and I looked into those pretty thoroughly. We found out it was on-page relevancy adjustments and indexing and new filtering rules, as we've been discussing for months now. Those were those updates. And usually when they do a core adjustment, it's usually a Panda kind of quality update, and it hadn't been for the last few months. So that's very interesting. For those of you who don't know, Ted, as I said, is the author of the Cora software. Cora is a very powerful software that allows Ted and anyone who uses it and runs it as a monthly subscription. If you want a 25% discount, email me. I can give it to you. That you could check hundreds of factors in your SERP very quickly. And what another great thing about this software is if you run it on a monthly basis and you know that Google did a change on, say, April 12th, you check your report from like April 6th and you compare it to your report on May 6th, or you compare it to your report on like April 24th, when you know there was a Google adjustment in the middle there, and you see what is showing higher or lower. And for those of you who want to see what that looks like, email me, because I've showed it on the show many times. People who've watched the show for a long time already have seen this screen a bunch of times. I'm not going to bore them again, but email me and I could show you what Cora can do in terms of diagnosing exactly what things change. It's not always just quality. It's not always just tweaks to their AI. And Google, unfortunately, is often a bunch of liars. We proved it when they said, for this particular core update, it was March, I believe, they said, you can't fix anything, you can't do anything. And we'd run a core report, and the correlations show, yes, you can actually fix stuff. It was all on-page keyword stuff, terms of service pages, HTTPS, and things like that. And so those are obviously things you can do. And so when Google says you can't fix it, they're lying, or they're really talking kind of out of their ass in PR speak. So email me, watch the show, follow the show, get Cora, do all those things, and I'll help you out in this kind of regard. Now let's see what else is going on new here on SE Roundtable. New Bing app viewer, we don't care. Local SEO agencies are not happy with the new Google agency dashboard. I haven't checked out this new Google agency dashboard. Josh, do you do any local SEO? Have you checked out this agency dashboard? Or have you guys heard anything about this? I guess that's a no. Quiet means no, or I can't hear you.
We do local SEO, but I haven't checked it out yet.
Okay, yeah. Well, if you can have a chance to check it out and let us know what you think, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all if people would be pissed off about it, because it really is Google, I think, trying to get in on the local SEO game and starting to mess with that game, and start getting some kind of control of all the black hat SEO going on there. Of course, in niches like limo service, and especially key lock, keysmiths, or those kinds of services. There's a lot of black hat SEO going on, and I'm sure Google's going to want to try and get their hands all over that. What
was a trip is I was able to verify a local business like instantly just by having a verified site through Google Analytics and GSC.
Really?
Have you heard of, yeah, I've never been able to do that before. And it was a service. It asked the question, do customers come in and walk in and do you sell products from the location? And obviously it was no. So it's just a service. So, but it was interesting that they verified it right away.
And so, say again, this was on a G site, like a Google verified site.
Yeah, Google My Business.
So
trip.
That's some interesting kind of nepotism going on there, where if you have a Google site, they'll verify you in Google My Business much more quickly. I have been poo-pooing these Google sites for a while now, just because I usually poo-poo any of the new trends in SEO, and everyone's like, "Oh, you got to do it," on a Black Hat World. If they talk about it on Black Hat World, usually I'm like, maybe I'm a little biased that way. But I have to admit, I hold my hand up. I will go by the evidence, and we did test recently a Google site, and it does have more juice. So a Google site, which was like googlesite.com/whatever/keyword, had much more juice out of the box than a test site /keyword, but less juice than an EMD. It even had more juice than a subdomain, keyword.whatever.com. It even had more juice than that. So that was a really interesting test. And so if you're thinking of using Google sites, you might want to give it a try. But then we tried doing some linking off that Google site, and the test page went down. So we got to repeat that test to see if it happens again. But basically, it's like, don't think you're going to be using Google sites. Right now, it looks like don't use Google sites as a PBN, because although they have more juice to rank better in the SERP, any links coming off them seem to be no follow anyway, and seem to be hurting pages because our test page went down after we linked to it from a Google site. But that could be an anomaly. We're going to redo the test a couple times, obviously, to see if it keeps going down. If it does, I'll come on here and I'll tell you how things are working out. By the way, hey, folks. Josh,
yeah. Do you know if that was a old Google site or a new Google site?
It was the
new
old
platform or the old one?
I was told by my apprentice that it was an old Google site.
That's really surprising that linking to it went down, because the old Google sites do have more power than the new ones.
Well, they certainly seem like they do. It did rank higher out of the box.
Yeah.
But I think my apprentice could be wrong. Darren, if you can chime in on this on Skype if you want. I'm not really sure. I don't want to misquote you. I think he told me it was an old Google site, but I thought I also heard that the old Google sites were still sending do follow links, where it was the new Google sites which were sending no follow links, and this particular link was no follow. So maybe Darren is wrong, and maybe it was actually a new Google site and not an old Google site.
Yeah, because the old ones are doing do follow and the new ones are not. So I would take a gander at that. And actually you can't, I don't know if you can make, you still can make old Google sites. So I would think that he's doing it on a new one and just maybe he's not aware of it.
Okay, well, I can show you here. Let me just see if I can find it. Let's see here. Just go back in my history. Yeah, here it is. Here's the site here. I will put it in the chat. Hollie, you can check it out and tell me if you think that's an old one or a new one. But let's see if there's just anything else going on here in what's new in SEO, and then we'll get Hollie has a bit of an announcement to make. We'll get to that in a second. So this is all the other stuff that Barry's talking about. He's talking about all the updates that brewed in March, April, May. And I was having another debate with Google. My debates are ongoing with Google. I won't even bother reporting on that. So there we go. It looks like the new one. Yeah, that's entirely possible. So it looks like the new Google sites do not make links with them, because the one page went down drastically that we linked, and that shouldn't happen. It's very rare. Well, it's not rare at all, actually. I shouldn't say that. On my test servers, pages do fluctuate, so we'll have to repeat it and see what happens. So, Hollie, you wanted to make a bit of an announcement about some great goodies you got coming up for folks. Please take this time to do so.
I kind of want to get a AMA going in our private Skype group, which of course you can ask Josh more information about that. But in the Skype group that we have, I think we have maybe 100 people, Josh?
70 in our private Skype group.
Okay. So that's pretty good. So I'm going to start doing a AMA on Monday, June 25th. I believe that's a Monday. And I think I'm going to be doing it around noon, because Josh has a test segment on Mondays at 10. So I'm going to do mine right after him. So I'm going to have a posted unlisted video that I'll post in our Skype group, and any questions or comments, you can actually, it's better if you ask me ahead of time, because then I am a little bit prepared and I don't sound like a twat because I'm saying all the time. And if you are not able to attend, at least you can get your question in there, and then you can come back and watch it later. So I'm not like even talking to myself. That's, because I don't want to have to talk to myself and ask myself my own questions. So, I'll do my very best on not making it salesy and not pitching any kind of offer or anything, but just realize that there's like limitations that I can talk to about CTR in particular, because that's what we are doing coaching about. But I can answer questions about Black Hat stuff, all day long. I don't do that in my coaching, and I can answer questions about mass pages, about 301 redirects, Java redirects, ridiculous amount of things about YouTube that I don't really talk about, just because it's something that maybe maybe people don't know that they can do, or maybe it's just this natural thing to me to do it. So, I think it'll be good. I'm hoping it'll be good. So it's going to be offered to the Skype group at least for the first week, and then we'll see how it goes.
Sweet. So folks, you have a plethora of avenues to get your questions answered. One, you can ask us any questions on the show in the chat right now, and Black Hat questions, Hollie will try to answer. White Hat questions, I will try to answer. If you want to get deeper into the stuff and get deeper questions and more secrets, join the White Hat versus Black Hat Skype group. It's not that expensive. It's only whatever it is, $40 a month or something like that for right now, until we get more members. And then you get access to not only my test result meetings on Monday, where you'll always get the new test results. You know exactly what's going on, which I try to remember to say in this Hangout. I do often say them in this Hangout too. But this is where we answer more like free kind of SEO questions. And then also the same day, you're going to get an Ask Hollie Anything for any kind of Black Hat stuff. And it's usually better to ask Hollie the Black Hat questions, because if you ask me, the resident White Hat, I'm probably going to say don't, because it's not a White Hat thing. And then I'm going to say, well, do it the White Hat way, and this is how I would do it. So at least you'll get two perspectives, right? And that's why we call the group White Hat versus Black Hat, both the show and the group, because there's a White Hat way of doing it, and there's a Black Hat way of doing it, and those change in pros and cons as the turbulent seas of SEO move back and forth over time. I'm getting sick just doing this. The turbulent seas of SEO move over time. And so you're going to get two different perspectives. And that's where knowledge really happens, is when you got one person who honestly and fervently believes in doing it this way, this way, this way, and you get other people who fervently, with evidence and actual high-level reasoning as well, and proof that it works in the field, and experience of doing it for years, we both have on both sides, say, no, you can do it this way, this way, this way. So you get kind of more of a menu, a carte blanche of which way you want to go, and what you get a better kind of spectrum, a better overlook of how you could be doing your SEO, and how different business ideas and different business strategies might lead themselves to different kind of SEO strategies, either white hat or black hat. So ask us anything on the show in that regards. You want to go deeper, you want a little bit more help, we do mentoring, or there's just the Skype group, which is a pittance. It's like $40 a month. Email me, and we'll get you on the Skype group. And then you can also start watching these other special privileged bits of information that we got. But we still want to keep the show valuable, so ask your questions, and we'll answer any questions we can on air right now. In fact, unless Ted has an update for Cora, what's going on with that, we'll get to the questions right away.
Oh, well, I was hoping next week, if there's time in the schedule, to do a demonstration of what's new in Cora 3.9. I'm launching it later today, but I'll be ready to present and talk about it next week. So we'll start sharing information about it for people who don't know next week. But lots of great things. It has embedded Chrome, so it's going to behave a lot more like Googlebot actually does. We're pulling the rendered HTML. So before, we couldn't get sites that were entirely JavaScript frameworks, like the travel sites. Now we can. There's just a lot of stuff in it, and it's taking it to a whole new level.
That's super exciting. And hopefully, maybe at some point, let's just say that Ted is on the very, and I do not say this with hyperbole. Ted is on the very cutting edge of what's going on with crawling and indexing and all that kind of stuff, and what Google is doing. And Cora is hands down. Cora and Page Optimizer Pro are the two most important pieces of SEO software that you need, bar none. And I do not recommend SEO software unless it works for a fact. There have been tons of people who want to come on the show for me to plug their SEO software or SEO this or SEO that. And I take a look at it, and it's just not up to par. It's not up to my standards. Cora and Pop are currently the only software that are up to my standards, and you definitely need as part of your repertoire. So let's look here and see what kind of SEO questions we got going on, and get your questions in with some asterisks beside it so I can see it to make sure that I got it here. Okay, so Marco asks, I tweeted yesterday that starting tomorrow, does the show move into the old time? Yes. So in order to try to have Hollie here on a more regular basis, we are going to have the show at 12 noon Pacific, which is when we started today. So we're moving an hour earlier from the schedule we had for the last 6 months or so. And from now on, we're going to be at 12 noon. So marking your calendars. We're going to be at 12 noon Pacific time for the foreseeable future, so that Hollie, our new Black Hat co-host, who's going to be here more often, can join and be with us here. She's got to get her kids later. Other than that, Andrew says, hey guys, is it possible for a site to be deranked due to a context of a linking website? For instance, we have a real estate business that is picking up its links from a cycling sports website. And I'm guessing your real estate website got deranked, and you're wondering if that's the reason. Is that what's going on, Andrew? The answer is yes, actually. I've seen this testing quite a lot, and I have done this in testing in both in the real world. And let me show you exactly what it looks like here. I will show you guys one of my test sites here. Let me just get Search Console started up. And I'll show you on a real world site. It's a test site, but it's a real world site. It's a site I'd make money off of. It's one of my spammy, crappy affiliate sites that I would gladly make money off of if I could get it to rank with any kind of precision. It's like I said, a spammy, crappy piece of crap kind of site. Okay, so let me share the screen here. So this is what happens when you point links at a page that Google is not sure about, that are on the cusp of being. Google will ignore 99% of links that it does not trust because of the footprint of the link itself, and or more often the footprint of the page. They will ignore. They were just going to de-index and not index a whole bunch of spam pages that they're sure are spam pages. Then there's another class of page on top of that they will index, but they're going to ignore those kinds of links. And then there's another kind of classification. That's a very thin classification. And then there's another kind of classification on top of that where they will index it, but the links are really, really questionable. And it's this kind of scenario, Andrew, that you bring up, where it's like topic XYZ is linking to topic ABC. And you start to see stuff like this is what you start to see. So here's my spammy, crappy affiliate site. You notice it was going along fine here. And then in about May 21st here, this date right here, I started building, April 1st, I started building, no, it was this date here, May 7th. I started doing on-page SEO here, and things started to break out and get better. And here's where I started the linking, was on May 7th. And then you notice it just disappeared from the SERPs for some days. This is the kind of deranking you see. This is the kind of A/B testing that you'll see. This is what Google is trying to do to make you freak out as an SEO and delete the links, or even worse, put your links in the disavow file. Do not ever do that. Do not ever delete your links. Do not ever put them in the disavow file. I've tested this multiple times, and things invariably get worse. They do not get better. And as you can see, if you just ride out this period of the A/B testing, quite often things will come back, and things have come back for me on the 1st. And you'll notice also suddenly, boom, with the impressions going up super high as well. Even though the ranking doesn't seem to be much better than it was previously over here, it's now ranking for much better stuff, and it's actually now starting to get impressions and starting to rank for the key phrases that I want to rank for. Now, keep in mind, so I just wrote out this spammy period. So to answer your question, can backlinks cause negative SEO? Can backlinks derank you? Yes, in an A/B testing scenario, but it only lasts for a few weeks, if that, as far as I've seen, except for very rare and specific scenarios. And eventually, if you do the on-page and the off-page, boom, you start getting rankings there, and things start to come up. And this is on a very spammy affiliate site. That's just essentially like a direct copy of the main product. It's a very terrible site. It had very terrible links. It's an exact match domain, and it's highly aggressive. And so this is why I'm using it as a test, because if I can get that page to rank, you can rank anything, right? So if I can get that really spammy page to rank with exact match domain, and all the backlinks were exact match query as well, pretty much all of them, with the occasional natural stop word. If I can get that to rank, that's why I'm doing it so aggressively. If I can get that to rank using our theories and my theories that have been based off of the research of actual scientific experiments we've been doing, then you can get anything to rank if you just know how to do it, if you do it the right way. So yes, to answer your question, that can happen, but it shouldn't derank forever. If it deranks forever, I would check for a manual action in Search Console. You probably got a manual penalty. Or it has nothing to do with the links at all, and you need an SEO audit. You need a full, in-depth, someone who knows what they're doing, someone who knows what to look for, do a full 5-hour audit to see why you've got that huge filter, that penalty. You could very well have been hit by this latest update. Everybody always blames links. They point their finger at links, but quite often it's not links at all. It has something to do with quality or something else. Okay, let's see what else we got here. JM asks, where's Clint? Clint is off black hatting. He has picked, for those of you who watch the show, you know he's picked up some new clients. Some of them are quite time consuming, and he's off black hatting. He's taking a bit of a break, but he's still our bud. He'll still be around. Hollie is pitching in as the Black Hat co-host until such time as Clint has more time on his schedule, more time in his schedule for little old us. Sean Greenwood says, hey Josh, you advise that you've had some good results with Page Optimizer Pro. Are you getting the percentage to 100%? It just seems like over optimization. That's a great question, Sean. Yes, I'm having super good results with Page Optimizer Pro, but Page Optimizer Pro is difficult to use, and you have to really know what you're doing. Check last week, Kyle did a demo of Page Optimizer Pro. You really have to understand the sales funnel, which is also the search funnel, and you really have to understand query deserves diversity, and why Google ranks, and the Hummingbird algorithm that they redid in June of 2013. And you have to understand why Google is putting a page there, and what people are really wanting when they're searching for this, why Google is putting a page there, where in the sales funnel you are, so you can select the proper competitors. You have to put as many competitors in there as possible, and you really have to understand what the variation keywords, the second your variation keywords are supposed to be as compared to your main keyword. So go back last week and check out Kyle's tutorial on that. If you're still having problems, email me at joshpachinski@gmail.com. I'd be happy to see if I could try to help you out a little bit more. Sean asks, when are you releasing the latest version of Cora? So it sounds like it's later today. That's super, super exciting. Cora is, I don't know if Ted, if you like me saying this, so feel free to chime in. But as far as I'm concerned, you can spend 8 hours a day doing SEO research like we all do, and have done that for the last 10 years. And that's how we have the knowledge level that we have. Or you can just buy Cora, run a report, and pretty much have the same level of knowledge in like 5 minutes. It's for your niche only. It's kind of like the only set it and forget it SEO software that I know of that just click a button, tell me what to do. I don't want to think, just give me a list of instructions kind of SEO software. It's the only kind of software out there that's like that I know of, that is even easier to use than Pop, actually, quite frankly. Ted, do you mind me saying that? Do you think that's fair to say that?
No, I don't mind. The one thing I would want to let people know is there are limitations to Cora. Cora is a great tool that tells you how much you need of each SEO factor. But where people get hung up is Cora does not tell you how best to do it. So when Cora tells you something like you need 48 more keywords and LI tags, you still need a talented SEO that says, oh, that means you need to tune your navigation because you're using LI in your menu, or, oh, you need to add more products per page because these are store categories, or, no, you really should put an HTML list in this blog post. So Cora is not going to tell you exactly how to do it, but it will tell you how much of each factor you need to be competitive to your higher ranking competitors.
Right. And unlike Pop just does on page. Cora does every conceivable metric you can think of. It does social, backlinks, all the HTML, all the technical stuff, all the on page, the speed stuff, all the stuff that you can now possibly test now that you've implemented an actual Chrome browser into the build. So yeah, so I mean, really, like I said, they're two indispensable tools. We're going to have to check out Cora 3.9. I don't know. It might be better than Pop. You might be able to get rid of Pop. I don't know. I'm gonna start. I'll see if I can start a Ted Kyle rivalry on the show. Ted's not taking that one. Ted's not biting on that fish hook at all. Okay, so Martin has joined us. How you doing, Martin? Martin, if you have a question, SEO question, or Josh, if you have an SEO question, you go ahead and ask it now if you want.
I have a question for Hollie.
Sure. 1 second there, Martin. We'll get Josh's question out of the way, and then we'll get to your question. Okay, Martin?
I don't really have a question, so go ahead.
Okay. well, you better think of one. No, you don't have to think of one. You can just hang out if you want. But if you have one, go ahead and ask it after this.
Sounds good.
Top 3 ranking factors for YouTube search, Hollie, if you're there. Just curious right now.
The number 1 ranking factor across the board is going to be CTR. So
Really? Wow.
I can 100% tell you I have not built a link to any YouTube videos since March of 2017. My backlinking softwares are all doing things with Google with Java redirects. So, and actually, in fact, even on my videos that I'm ranking in Google, I'm doing 100% CTR too. I'm not building anything to my YouTube videos. I've tested embed campaign versus a CTR campaign, and like in YouTube, for an example, the video goes backwards instead of going forwards, and I was not aggressive whatsoever. I did send them the links to get indexed because you really need to do that, but the video did not bounce up like it used to in 2014, 2015. The CTR campaign hit number 3 in about 24 hours, and I was not aggressive whatsoever. So it's the CTR. It depends upon when you're doing the CTR. And I think the third one is CTR. And I really can't stress that enough. I mean, I've spent the last year and a half building software for us to do CTR on. I had to make my own proxy server because we cannot use dedicated proxies from any company that, you know, puts them out in the public because they
Google
burn them. Yeah, and Google has them anyways, and so does YouTube. So we have built our own proxy server, and we have thousands of IPs by doing it that way. So, you know, we put a lot of money. I've done like the mobile testing. I had hired quite a few people to do mobile testing off Craigslist and, you know, college kids that my kids knew all over the US. And we had them testing searches in Google on their mobile phone. And actually it worked on mobile. This is strange. And maybe Ted, you know, can explain. I think it's because it's the mobile index and desktop indexes differently, but it would move in the Google in the mobile phones, but on the desktop it didn't move at all. So it depends upon where you're trying to rank it, is based on what CTR method you really have to go with.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to briefly say, yeah, the mobile index and the desktop index are different. So I would guess that Google updates those at different times.
Yeah, they do.
And, you know, there are thousands of servers. So even when they update it, just completing an update would take a long, long time.
Wait, time out. So didn't Google just recently announce that they're doing the mobile first indexing, which is a blended index, which is going to be a single index, one index, but if you have a good mobile site, they'll put it in there, or they'll put
I don't believe that. No, they may have announced it, but they're not doing it.
Yeah, they might be physically putting the records in the same table, but if they scan them independently, then it might as well be two different things. So it's hard to know the mind of Google, but how they retrieve the data could behave exactly the same way as putting the data in two different databases.
Okay, and I'm okay. So I'm going to press you now a bit. How do you guys know this?
I tested it. I put up several hundred videos, and I had my kids, and I actually had several mobile phones. Like I put some damn money into this test, and I tested it Google searching on my phones, and the SERPs would move up, and the SERPs on the desktop, when we looked, it was still at the same point. So they never have moved up. They're still
reports mobile versus desktop, and the rankings are often and B, I'll see movement on one without movement on the other, and so they don't coincide together.
Sorry, you broke up there a bit, Ted. Can you repeat all that?
Yeah, I agree with Hollie. I've for starters, the rankings are often just different between mobile index and the desktop index. They're just different result sets. And then secondly, I've seen many cases where one will move and the other won't. So they're not synchronized together for changes hardly ever. So. And
Google Videos also is not hooked up to google.com or Google Mobile, because we did tests across all four. So we did YouTube searches, Google searches, Google video searches, and mobile Google video searches, and none of them matched to what we would see on mobile. And like, so if we searched in Google Video, it did not match google.com even on a desktop. I mean, like, there's different CTR methods for all four. I'm going to call them platforms because it's a platform to me. That's how I see it. So they were not matching whatsoever.
So, okay, so I'm just going to play devil's advocate a little bit more, because this is a huge bombshell piece of information. If it's true, it shows once again how Google is lying and how they say one thing and they do the opposite. So you're telling me to use the exact correct Google nomenclature, they're pulling a different top 1,000 shards for mobile versus a different top 1,000 shards for desktop. Why can't it be the same 1,000 shards, the same 1,000 records for both, but then just mobile factors will push mobile stuff up and desktop factors will push desktop factors up? How do you know it's a different collection?
Because none of the searches match. And if we get when we're doing CTR engagement, the videos and the websites, this actually even happens with websites, they will move up on Google, and they'll be on the top 1, 2, or 3. But if you look at desktop, it's still at number, like, even on the second page, it has not moved whatsoever. Like, and we're talking weeks and weeks of, we just waited to see if it was like a slow index, and it has not moved. And I mean, I think we're at about 2 months of doing that test, and it still hasn't moved.
Ted, can you add to that at all? The way you know that the shard collections are different?
Well, I don't know the mind of Google. I'm not an engineer. I don't know their architecture. I can only speak to the behaviors I see via the front end. And I don't even know that, sharding is the right term to use for the behaviors we're seeing. But it certainly doesn't feel like it's the same result set coming back. It feels like there are different results. They're in a different order, and sometimes there are completely different websites.
Yeah, completely different websites, yeah.
Well, then there might be interesting how this mobile first indexing is going on, and how it might be a little bit more kind of the mobile Geddon that we were thinking it might be, where mobile sites are being ranked by completely different algorithms in a totally different database. And that's kind of the primary database for Google. Another
thing, there was a fairly recent article on SE Roundtable about Google only using page load time as a factor for desktop. And that right there is kind of telling. That's a significant factor difference between the two. And I find that weird. I think it's probably bullshit, because
that's total bullshit. Like,
yeah, I think it's bullshit because page speed matters the most when you're standing out at the bus stop on a 4G network connection. So, and I've seen it in effect when I've been on Wi-Fi, like on a ferry, when the network connection is very slow. You can actually get very happy rankings when you're on the ferry. But then when you get into the office, you don't see those filters applied, and your rankings become sad again. So, it seems more situational, but Google's even admitting the factor differences between the two.
Is there a way you could test by putting an AMP page on one of the kind of pages that you've been talking about, Ted, and then running your process and seeing what Google brings back to see if they don't find this AMP page and it's 2 different indexes?
Well, I don't know that you could say that, because Google might be treating AMP in a special way. So it's not a single variable test. You're adding a new dimension to it.
So 3 indexes then: AMP, mobile, and then desktop.
Well, it could be. So I'm not sure that's the best way to test it. We'd have to really sit down and think about how best to kind of test.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to get too pulled down this rabbit hole here. See if we can get the rest of the questions here. Puck asks an interesting question. Why does it seem like most people here are working for clients instead of being business owners, for example, in the affiliate industry, where one could control all the variables? That's a really good question, Puck. That's a great question. In the one end, client work, can be rewarding. You're helping people. You get all different kinds of sites. It's kind of exciting that, I can be working on an affiliate. I could be working on a site that's ranking steel cables in the morning. Then I'm working on a site that's selling, I don't know, something totally different in the afternoon. It's kind of interesting to see how those 2 SEO spaces work. And if you're good and your clients are good, they pay you every month and everything's great. And you get to get all these wins and successes and add them to your portfolio, like I have been doing. On the other end, clients sometimes can be a little cranky, and sometimes client work, has been called hell by other people, and you have to kind of manage expectations, and everyone has to be reasonable. And as we all know, Human beings are not always reasonable. So there can be that end of things. And the affiliate side of things, yeah, you're your own boss. Yeah, and I only have to answer to myself to get that affiliate site going for myself. And the problem there is, and you make money, and affiliate sites can make a hell of money. I've had affiliate sites that made 30 or 40 grand a month. I've known people who had affiliate sites that made 30 or 40 grand a week. So that's entirely possible, depending on the niche you're in. The problem is that the affiliate game is a much dirtier game. You need to find out a company that will pay out for sure. I had an affiliate company that was paying me a lot of money, and they just decided to stop because they didn't want to anymore. And what am I going to do about it? Nothing. And they have to keep the product online. If they don't keep making the product, then you're done. If I base my affiliate page on Josh's herbal pills, and Josh, the company Josh stops making herbal pills, well, then I'm effed, right? I got to change it totally to something else. And there's super saturation in the affiliate space. Everyone and their dog has had this idea since 2001. And so there's super competition, there's super saturation. I recently did a keyword research distillation from 10,000 Amazon niches and boiled it down to the top 10. There was only, out of 10,000, there was really only 10 niches that I thought were still lucrative and it was not super competitive and you could make some money at. And then I immediately tried to make money in those niches. So I'm trying to get those websites built right now. Here's the other problem is that it's taking months and months to get these things built, because to do it right, you got to write them out. You got to make them different. You got to differentiate them. You have to design them right. It's not just, you can't just pop up a week, like a 1 week worth crappy piece of shit website and think that you're going to rank in the payday loan space or something like that. It just didn't work that way. So the time to get it going is way bigger. The cost to get it going is way bigger. The risk is way bigger. And that's when you know what you're doing. And I know what I'm doing. Joshua, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I mean, it's misconception that if we're good SEOs, we can just rank stuff all day long, but it still costs time and money. Like we're not just SEOs pushing magic buttons. We're busting our ass like behind the scenes. We've got technicians, we've got content writers. If you want a healthy like affiliate site that's going to last a long time, you're talking like tons of content, and it's not like you can just push a button and just pretend like it's not. It's, you know, if that were the case, then every SEO would be doing it, you know. But it's nice to get paid from clients, you know. But it takes time to build your own website.
Exactly. The clients are paying us to rank their website, so that's where the seed money comes from.
Yeah.
But when we're ranking our own websites, we got to pay for it. And so if you want to do it the white hat way, I have a niche that could conceivably make 10 to 40 grand a month. Let me put it that way. It's going to cost me, it's already cost me like 5 grand so far to build this site. The site's not even done yet. And it's going to cost me around 2 grand a month for about a year to make it rank properly. Ballpark. So, I mean, that's what you're looking at, right? And so I'm going to do it because eventually it's going to make money. And then once you have 6 affiliate sites that are making 10 to 40 grand a month, you just sit back and play Xbox. But you can't rest on your laurels too much, because then they will drop. Google will hit this one or this one. That affiliate company will just stop paying you because they're jerks, or someone will negative SEO you and they'll DDoS you from Russia, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it is a Wild West, nasty kind of environment. At least clients, 90%, I don't want to jinx myself, so I'm knocking on my big block of wood head here, but usually clients pay on time. They're usually nice and they're usually great, and it's usually good. So it's really, but they email you at any time they want, and they call you anytime they want. So it really is, you know, it's really a 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. And that we just talked about essentially the white hat way of doing things there. Ted and Hollie will then say, and then if you want to do it the black hat way, well, then there's all kinds of other barriers to entry. You got to be wicked smart. You got to be a super good programmer. You got to have super good contacts. You got to have research. You have to do as much research as white hats do. You have to have been doing this for 5 years. 8 hours a day. You better have above average IQ. You better have an above average tolerance to risk, because Hollie will tell you she's doing great stuff. She's making millions, and then YouTube shuts that down, and then it's gone. Right, Hollie? Is she going to confirm?
Sorry, I had on mute. Yeah, I mean, I had 3.5 million videos up in November 2016, and it's a lot of videos, and I had over 80% ranking at #1, and I was on a flight home, and I only showed one of the videos at this conference, and there was a YouTube. There was 2 YouTube employees and 1 YouTube attorney, and I had a bit of a big head, like, oh, they're not going to catch me, and they took all the videos down within, I don't know, 3 minutes. So it's definitely more risk, I think, by doing it Black Hat. It's I like to do on the almost the legal side of it, but not to the point where I'm going to be sued or something. I always do things that are offshore so that I won't get in trouble in the U.S. So I guess there's different levels of Black Hat. Most people are, even though they say they're white hat, as Josh, I believe that he's still a gray hatter, which is, my own opinion. Yeah, you.
No.
Yeah, you. Yeah. Everybody is pretty much a gray hatter because
Everybody's
you're trying to. Yeah, you're trying to manipulate the same thing that we are with Google. You're trying to give them what they love, but we're shoving it up their ass, and you're not. So
I'm going in the front door, I guess.
yeah, we're gonna go in the back door, and it's fine with me. I'll come in the back door every day of the week. Well,
Okay, I'm gonna move right on from that conversation because that can get pretty dirty pretty quick. Okay, let's see what other questions we have here. Sean is asking Ted a question. Someone asked if Hollie, if you have a link or website that you do your coaching on, do you want to just send them to the White Hat versus Black Hat Skype group, or how do you want to do that? Oh, Hollie, you responded. Okay, good.
Yeah, just by email is fine.
Oh, not a problem. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I answer the questions here. Now my whole chat thing here just reloaded, and now I can't find myself. Someone asked, and I might be behind the curve here. Someone might have already answered this. They say Regis virtual office for GMB risky. I have no idea what that means, so hopefully one of the other people does.
I don't think that you can get your GMBs very well anymore with the virtual office. I don't do very many GMBs, but last time I knew they weren't working too hot.
That's what I had heard, is that no, you can't do it that way. They're calling, they're checking. This new agency thing is going to start checking into it. It's going to be much harder to do Black Hat local moving forward.
Local offices still work. Like if they're off the grid, you can't use Regis anymore, but you can use like local offices. Like you have to literally like be a local in that city though to know how to find those local offices. You can't find them. It's really hard to find them on search.
Techable asks, do links from directory sites work at all in 2018, and has this been tested recently? Techable, that's a very good question. So I have not tested them. I would say stay away unless you're doing local citations. Let me check quickly what SIA, our sister group, has tested. I do believe they tested this maybe a year ago. Let me see if I can find it for you. What do you guys think about directory links? Do you think they're still going to work?
Well, I think what are often considered low quality links tend to work great. So, there might be cases where Google has made specific exceptions out of specific sites. So I can't speak that all directories work, but I have ranked websites to the top of page 1 on Google using 100% match footings across basically worth. So I know that low value links do pass value.
They certainly do. All the testing that we've done up until now, the low quality links all pushed it to number 1. They all worked, and they were all exact match query. And so the kind of thought of negative SEO was kind of down the tubes from that. But now you're getting hard to get some links spidered. And any links that are having trouble spidering, I'm starting to see a lot more A/B testing like that. So there is kind of a temporary penalty for that, and also some specific cases where specific things like this case where we're using that Google site to link and it went down. We definitely see that here. Let me just ask Kyle Have you tested directory links lately? See if Kyle from SIA has done so. I don't see it in their test results here. Let me see here. Baxter asks, what is your take on country level Google engines like DE, SE, IT, and such? Do you think that the current updates apply to these engines as well, or they fall behind the .com? Baxter, that's a great question. So John Mueller was asked this recently, and he kind of admitted, and I didn't believe he admitted this, but he did on air, that a lot of the releases that Google says they're doing are only for Google US, not even for Google Canada or for Google UK. So in English in the US, they're totally up to date. For the rest of the English-speaking world, they're partly up to date. Just imagine any algorithm that it depends if you need to know the language or not. So any spam-based algorithm, unless Google has a lot of coders who talk in that language, they're not going to be able to differentiate between spammy pages and spammy language and good language. So I have to admit, in other languages outside of English, you can get away with a lot more spammy backlinks. They can't tell the difference, and people outside the English world less and less trust Google, which because they're smart. They shouldn't. It's only us dumb English speakers who, oh, I believe you, Google. You know, I believe everything you say, Google. People in the rest of the world are like, sure. And then they say that in whatever language that they say it in. And so you can get, I have to admit, you can get away with a lot more in other languages. But any user metric based algorithm is going to work across the board. Any kind of algorithm where they can do it by math and not by the words, it'll work across the board. But if wording is involved, then they're not going to be quite so close on those algos. Peter from Poland asked a great question. He says, is Google on page 1 really just about parity? Content performance does not matter? Peter, when Ted's talking about parity, he's talking about in every signal in every conceivable way. And that's what Quora tests for. Essentially every conceivable signal in every conceivable way. So it includes on-page, includes everything else, off-page, social, tech, speed, everything else that Quora can possibly test, which is well over like 500 or 600 factors now, Ted. How many factors are you testing for in Quora these days?
Over 540, I believe.
Yeah. So it checks for a lot more than just that. And parity is kind of, what you kind of need. It's that kind of philosophy, which is not a half bad philosophy, is that if you don't have time to watch all my videos and do all the SEO experiments yourself, or join SIA and read all their 300 experiments they've done, then going by Quora is the best way to go, because Quora is going to tell you statistically you're going to be better more often than not. If you just follow what Quora does, 90% of the time at least, you're going to rank well on page 1, and you might have to make spot adjustments to this test or that test, or this might be slightly off or that might be slightly off. So that's kind of the philosophy, and it's a philosophy that works well. If I had to do it again, I might just not have spent so much time and just have bought Quora 10 years ago, if Quora existed 10 or 20 years ago. Sean Greenwood says, Josh, your test site with exact anchors only reflects the anchor ratios don't matter. Is that the case? Yes, Sean. I have absolutely no proof that anchor text ratios matter at all. And it's kind of funny. Someone came to me and said, well, the industry standard says that you need 8% anchor text ratio, and you can't go over than that, because you read it on some blog post a couple of weeks ago. I said, yeah, that's because I made it up 5 years ago, and that was my rule of thumb. Doesn't mean that it's the gospel truth. It's just the rule of thumb for risk mitigation. I've been saying that for 5 years. I can point you to the video where I said that like 5 or 6 years ago. So that's so. I mean, that's a good indication of how just myths start and how just rumors start in the SEO community. That's a good indication of why you need to be doing testing. And as far as I can tell, right now in any of my tests, there is no such thing as an anchor text kind of filter. You can have exact match anchor text all day long. All the testing I do is always exact match anchor text. Now, with that being said, do not go out and do exact match anchor text to all your pages or all your client pages. Even though I cannot prove in a test environment that it's bad, that does not mean I have proven, therefore it is okay. Do you see the difference? I can't prove that there's anything wrong with it. It doesn't mean you should go do it, because there could be situations and scenarios that my test environment does not reflect. And so still, to be safe, I still will only do a partial exact match query backlink anchor text. And I always put in natural stop words. My general rule of thumb is always have plausible deniability. If and when this bubbles up to the Google manual web spam team, if a human being looks at it, will they be able to tell that whether this was natural or placed? I always make it as hard for them to tell that and make things look natural as much as possible, whether that's an exact match or not. When you're buying the kind of, I'm sorry, when you're acquiring, he said acquire with scare quotes, when you're acquiring the kind of backlinks that I'm acquiring in my white hat SEO-ness, that's what makes me white hat, not gray hat, Holly, because I'm acquiring them. He's using more scare quotes, people. When you're acquiring the kind of quality links that I'm getting, you don't need to really care if it's what the anchor text is. Excuse me. In fact, I'm doing testing now to show that it's not really even the anchor text at all. It's going to be the whole optimization of the whole backlink page. That is what is going to help you rank for the keyword clusters you want to rank for. And I don't even think the anchor text is going to be, it's going to be a factor, but I don't think it's going to be even as much a factor as people think. And I have some experiments right now going on to prove that. And if I can prove it, I certainly will, because that will be the atom bomb of SEO. I could drop the mic, it's go boom. If I can prove that, you guys will be the first to know. And it will be a huge, huge, huge thing to help you in your SEO moving forward. Amit Singh says, does the star, break the keyword? Example, do things to do in Florence, Italy, keyword, but correct way to write is things to do in Florence, Italy. Yeah, so that's a problem. So like, for example, when you have the scenario where, like for example, the keyword buy new car, well, if you type buy new car into Google, Google is not entirely sure if you want to buy a new car to give you purchase pages, or if you want to read about how to buy a new car. So it changing the query into how to buy a new car, or just buy a new car. It says instead of buy a new car. So you really do got to play with it and try to get the semantic right and try to guess the substitution that Google is doing there. And it can be difficult for sure. The same problem happens in local SEO when you do like when you do dry cleaning near me. On the page, it should be, do you want dry cleaning near you? It shouldn't be near me, right? But that's not the exact match. And you do want to get to the exact match. Google, Ted has been saying this for years to me, and I've been kind of like poo-pooing the idea, but he really is correct. At the end of the day, Google really is nothing more than a simple straight text Control F search in Word with a whole lot of patches put on top. And so if you optimize your page, dry cleaning near me, and you said, whenever you search for dry cleaning near me, aren't you dissatisfied with the results? At Josh's Dry Cleaning near me, you know, we will do this, blah, 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 and just stuff the keyword in. It's just keyword stuffing. You just got to stuff it the right amount in the right way. And both Cora and Pop, Page Optimizer Pro, if you want, tells you how to do this. If you guys want to try these tools, never heard of them, don't know what I'm talking about, email me. I will introduce you to both these tools. Your rankings will go up like this.
Hey, Josh.
Yes.
Look at the chat box. I showed you 2 searches for foreign SEO that Google should pick up, but because it's Spanish SEO, it's like SEO from 2010.
Okay, so my Spanish is worse than my French. Do you want me to show this to the group? You want to talk about this?
Yeah, I don't mind it. That's fine. So okay, the first one is personal injury, and if you actually went probably 100 pages in, those are all me.
Okay.
And it's 100% duplicate content. So it's obvious that it's SEO from 2010 because like Google should be picking up on this shit, right? So if you look up the second search, so okay, so just make a different tab so you can click back between the two. Sure. The second search, look at the symbols that they indexed. Oh, okay. So yours doesn't show it at top. So this is one of the weird things that annoys me because it's a different IP. However, if you go 2 down underneath the image as the side triangle,
yeah.
So it's an emoji.
Okay. Yeah.
And you shouldn't be able to index emojis. Now, if is that a soup.io? Yeah, it is. So the one that's X blogs, notice that's a Web 2.0. Click on it. You think you should land on X blogs, but see where you land.
This one here, right?
Yeah, click on that one.
Please don't install a virus on my site.
It won't.
Boom. Okay, look
See,
at that.
it hijacked a Web 2.0 and did a Java redirect. Google should be picking up on that shit. They're not picking up on that shit.
Yeah, they should. And even my redirect plugin couldn't tell you did it.
Yeah. So this is a fun little black hat thing that we're doing. It has made it more difficult because of indexing since March. But just to show, like, if you are in foreign SEO or even that's not even foreign SEO because it's just a different language. If you're in Dutch or, Spanish, niches all over the place. They rank like gangbusters and you don't even have to do anything to them.
Yeah. Other languages definitely it is easier to do stuff. There is still money there. I would highly recommend if you want to do a more black hat approach to go into other languages, and you can make an F load of money. Just think gambling niche. Just think all the different stuff that we've been doing in English, and just move it over to different languages.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what we've been doing lately, so we don't have to compete so much with like there's certain people who I don't want to go in niches for various reasons, so we just have switched it to doing it in Spanish instead.
Right. Yes, folks. So this is all Hollie. If you're wondering about her black hat cred, well, here it is.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing that.
In about 90,000 cities. It's not just one city.
Right. Of course. Yeah. I remember your approach is kind of blanket all cities for all the keywords.
Yeah.
In a certain kind of business paradigm or a monetization paradigm. And it's interesting you're doing the emojis here. And, you probably already know this, Hollie, but with what you're doing here with the redirect, it goes on here from XYZ blogs to here.
Yeah.
And Google not picking it up.
Yeah.
You have a very nasty negative SEO exploit that you could do to people. I don't know if you realize that with that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you and I need to talk because there's some reputation management that someone asked me about.
Yeah.
That might need to happen. So you and I need to have a conversation afterwards.
Yeah,
that was some people.
That sounds awesome.
All right. So, like I said, she knows black hat. I wasn't joking. She's just very quiet and unassuming, just sitting there. But when she speaks, pay attention. Let's see if I can get to the rest of these questions here. Can AMP have a negative effect on SEO? I haven't seen it have a negative effect on SEO at all, unless you do it completely wrong, like you don't index all of your content. In fact, I've seen nothing but equal or benefit from AMP. What about you guys? You guys see any AMP problems?
Oh, I'm not an AMP expert.
Ever see it cause a problem, though?
Well, I think the main issues is that the content's no longer on your server. So I wonder about signals like click-through rate and stuff, since it's going to a Google server cache of the content. Would you lose out on some of the factors? But I don't know for certain. We haven't tested it.
Okay. I don't think there's any problems with it. I just hate it because it's Google's product. So I dislike it. But I have to admit the time to first byte is great. The user metrics tend to be good. But you should just be able to make your responsive site equally fast as well. And then you have the full capability of doing everything you want to do. Chris Ramsey asks, do you have any test results on citations for rankings in local search? I've done hundreds of citations for one site, and it seems to not have changed much unless there are issues for being done overseas. Also, somebody asked, and Christopher, it could have been you, about directory links earlier in the show. I Skyped Kyle and asked him an SIA. He's the lead tester in SIA. As far as I know, he's the only tester in SIA other than me. I could be wrong. Ted, Hollie, if you guys know, or Josh, if you guys know otherwise, I think Kyle is the only one doing testing in SIA other than me.
There's others. There's a handful. There's not a lot of testers, but there are.
Okay. Well, anyway, I know he's the lead tester. He's the main tester anyway. And he says, no, they have not tested directory links lately. So, Chris, I know that other people I've had on the show whose SEO I respect say that citations work. I've never tested them personally, and so that is a level 2 piece of evidence as opposed to a level 5 piece that I think is better. So take that statement with what it's worth. I'm not surprised at all that you're doing citations and nothing's happening, because links are only like 18% of the algorithm anyway, in my opinion. There's way more stuff to the algorithm than just links. So for you to come on and to ask, sorry, that sounded more negative than I meant. For someone to come on and ask, you know, I'm doing, and this happens all the time. So I'm not trying to be negative at all. Just bear with me. For someone to come onto the show and they ask, I'm doing linking strategy XYZ and nothing is happening. Why? And does that mean linking strategy XYZ doesn't work no more? And the answer is, what? You know, that's such a hard question to answer, because it's like, well, one, linking is not the only strategy. It's only about 20% of the algo, so there's 80% of stuff you might not be doing. 2, no, it doesn't mean that strategy might not be working anymore. You just could be doing it wrong. 3, you know, so that's what that means. So you know, and then I have all kind of white hat stuff I want to say, like, that's not the best thing you should be doing. You should be making the greatest content, and you should be doing more technical SEO, blah, 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 blah. So email me and I can help you out with that. But no, we haven't done any concrete testing on that lately. People I trust have been saying you need to do citations in local. I'm probably willing to believe that some directories in local are worth getting links from, like Yelp or Better Business Bureau or Amazon or Facebook. But those are more reviews than citations, and it depends on what we're talking about. We're just talking about a directory link where you put your address and your link. No, if you're talking about a place where you're getting a review and 5 stars on Facebook or Amazon, and there's an address and a link, yes, you definitely want that. So it really depends what we're talking about at that point.
Yeah, and you know, kind of the latest theory crafting about Google has been around the use of the MC4 algorithm. And basically what MC4 does is it tries to prevent web spammers from exploiting a minority of factors. So it's an algorithm that blends all the ranking signals together and tries to account for any strong outliers and discount those. So, you know, if MC4 is in place and there's some strong evidence that something like MC4 is in place, then it means you need to bring up your factor measurements across the board. So we all know that SEO guy that has 250,000 backlinks, and that's all he does. That's his one trick. But he's not ranking well, and he's not getting any movement. The way to get more value out of those backlinks he's been doing is to build up a diversity of factors, and then you get more allowance to spend on those backlinks.
Right. And I would say that's a pretty good risk mitigation assumption to assume that's the way Google works anyway. I mean, that's what Cora and Pop are both based off of, and we see huge results from using those. So even though it would be very difficult to scientifically prove MC4 as a scientific theory.
Like some of the evidence we see is, you know, it comes out of both SIA and from Cora. Like we see from the SIA experiments that Kyle again and again finds these over-optimization thresholds.
Yes.
So if you violate this over-optimization threshold, you tank.
Yes.
But then when you go to the field with Cora, you find these examples time and time again that violate the thresholds. And the reason I think those exceptions to the rule are happening is because of MC4. People can violate the over-optimization threshold because they for how you get through MC4. So there's suggestive information that something like MC4 is in play.
You broke up right at the part where you, and the secret is blah, 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 blah. But I know what you're saying. Yes. If MC4 is in play, then it's going to seem random in that some cases, some people can break the rules, and in some cases they can't because MC4 might be in play or might not in that particular context or in any other different kind of context. So yeah, it's very difficult. It's almost impossible to prove, just like some versions of string theory. It exceeds science into philosophy, and it's almost impossible to set up an empirical experiment to prove it. The answer is always be within the thresholds, and then you'll be safer that way. And then if any particular testing has shown something to be good or bad, there's very few absolutes in SEO. It's usually an Aristotelian kind of everything is moderation. Moderation being relative to everybody else, kind of a philosophy usually. But yeah, so that's been the White Hat versus Black Hat SEO show. I would like to thank Ted, Josh, and Holly from joining today. I'd like to thank you for all your excellent questions. If you have any SEO questions at all, you can always email me at joshpashinsky@gmail.com. If you have any questions about the show, any of the products mentioned on the show, any of the White Hat group on the show, anything you want to know about on the show, or just have a simple SEO question, email me at joshpashinsky@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at joshpashinsky, and you can find more videos like this where we do more experiments and have more awesome discussions, high-level SEO discussions based on evidence and high-level knowledge at youtube.com/jbashins, JBACHYNS. And as I always say, good luck in the SERPs, guys. We'll see you next week at the same time at 12 p.m. noon is when we're for Pacific time is when we're running the show from now until the foreseeable future. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.